This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The Secret Service's director says Donald Trump's attempted killing was the agency's most significant operational failure in decades. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Vice President Kamala Harris says she has enough delegates to become the Democrats' nominee for president. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Delta Airlines is struggling for a fourth straight day to recover from the tech outage. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Illinois police just released body cam video of the fatal shooting of a black woman who called 911 for help. I'm Sue Aller.
On Wall Street, markets popped to start the week as investors gauge the Harris trade. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Karen Reed back in a Massachusetts courtroom and a retrial date set in her case. I'm Clayton Neville.
All ahead on America in the Morning. In a contentious hearing on Capitol Hill, the Secret Service director said Donald Trump's attempted killing was the agency's most significant operational failure in decades. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, both sides of the political aisle in that hearing are demanding accountability.
How can a 20-year-old with his father's AR-15 assault weapon climb onto a roof with a direct 150-yard line of sight to the speaker's podium without the Secret Service or local police stopping him?
Tell us what went wrong. A special agent in charge, the person who was there. Tell us and don't try and play a shell game with us.
The Secret Service's director says Donald Trump's attempted killing was the agency's most significant operational failure in decades.
The assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump on July 13th is the most significant operational failure. This event was tragic and deserves answers.
But during a contentious House hearing, Kimberly Cheadle did not provide many, citing ongoing investigations.
We are 9 days out.
The bottom line is that under Director Cheadle's leadership, we question whether anyone is safe. Not President Biden, not the First Lady, not the White House, and certainly not the presidential candidate.
Illinois Democrat Raj Krishnamurthy says that's the point.
It's been 9 days.
And her refusal to give more information infuriated Texas Republican Pete Sessions, among others.
Tell us what went wrong.
Cheadle would not say why there were no agents on the roof where the shooter was, but did say the agency was told about a suspicious person before the shooting.
Somewhere between 2 and 5 times.
But added there's a difference between being identified as suspicious and as a true threat.
The Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed. As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again.
Lawmakers on both sides said the failures were unacceptable, with Ohio Republican Mike Turner among those urging Cheadle to resign.
Because Donald Trump is alive, and thank God he is, you look incompetent. If Donald Trump had been killed, you would have looked culpable.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Vice President Kamala Harris takes another step towards officially replacing President Biden at the top of the Democrat ticket this November. John Stolnis has more from Washington.
In a statement, the Harris campaign claimed she has secured the support needed to become the party's nominee, enough delegates to win the majority on the first ballot at next month's Democratic National Convention. Harris was at campaign headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware yesterday, and while there, took a call from President Biden.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
Harris said she has full faith in a campaign team that has been through a lot.
And I know it's been a roller coaster, and we're all filled with so many mixed emotions about this.
The president has not been seen since making his announcement on X Sunday, but spoke to campaign workers over the phone.
I know yesterday's news is surprising, and it's hard for you to hear, but it was the right thing to do.
In the 24 hours since Biden's official endorsement, The Harris campaign said she raised $81 million. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi issued a statement officially endorsing Harris, as have top Democratic governors like Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, one who could be on Harris's running mate shortlist.
I spoke to the vice president yesterday, shortly after I spoke to the president. You know what we focused on? Defeating Donald Trump. Our conversation was all about how we beat Donald Trump and protect our freedoms here in this Commonwealth.
Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance told supporters in Ohio Harris is as bad a candidate as President Biden.
Our country has been saddled for 3.5 years with a president who cannot do the job. And that is all because Kamala Harris and the rest of the Democrats lied about his ability to be our president.
Republicans are said to be considering lawsuits preventing Harris from accessing the war chest that the Biden-Harris campaign has developed so far, while another lawsuit says it's wrong for Harris to become the automatic nominee after 14 million primary voters voted for President Biden. John Stolnis, Washington.
Reverberations continue from the CrowdStrike outage when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. There's little in the way of severe weather expected today across the nation. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
As is typical deeper into the summer months, widespread severe weather is not anticipated today. However, there will be areas of downpours and perhaps localized flooding. The most concentrated area of thunderstorms today will be found over portions of the Carolinas, southern Florida, as well as across many of the Gulf Coast states, including Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and back into central Texas. Here, downpours can lead to ponding of water in area streets and poor drainage areas, resulting in slower travel and possible delays. Otherwise, storms will be more spotty across the rest of the southeast into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes region. A cold front will bring another area of heavier gusty storms to portions of eastern Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. Rain showers, even pockets of steadier rain, will dampen eastern New England early today, so places like Boston and Portland, Maine may have some slower travel through the morning hours. Meanwhile, a warm and humid air mass will be in place across the rest of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic today, while a stray afternoon thunderstorm can pop up in these areas, including around Philadelphia and New York City. It will not be a total washout by any means. The West will continue to sizzle under the ongoing heat wave with highs in the 90s and triple digits. Smoke from wildfires in Canada will make for hazy skies and poor air quality from the northern Rockies into the northern plains. Afternoon thunderstorms will erupt over the rest of the Rocky Mountains. Meanwhile, the tropical Atlantic remains quiet with a lot of dry, dusty air and wind shear across the basin. This will put a lid on any potential tropical development for at least the next 5 to 7 days. And that's the weather across America. In Washington, D.C. today, afternoon thunderstorms, high 89. Meanwhile, in Denver, sunny with a high of 90. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. There were another 2,000 flight cancellations and over 10,000 delayed flights yesterday as the airlines still recover from last week's CrowdStrike outage. As correspondent Haya Panjwani reports, you can expect more chaos at the nation's airports today.
Delta canceled more than 700 flights, bringing its total since the outage started to more than 5,500 cancellations. That's according to travel data provider Cirium. Delta's performance is drawing unwanted attention from the federal government. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says he spoke to Delta CEO Ed Bastian about the cancellations. Buttigieg says he expects Delta to issue quick refunds and to pay for hotels and meals for customers who are stranded by the ongoing cancellations. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Body cam footage released now in the case of that Illinois woman shot and killed in her home by a police officer. Correspondent Sue Aller reports.
It is that senseless, that unnecessary, that unjustifiable, that unconstitutional.
Those are the words courtesy of WLS-TV from civil rights attorney Ben Crump about the death of 36-year-old Sonia Massey, a black mother of two who was shot by Sean Grayson, a white sheriff's deputy. Recently, body camera footage was released by the Illinois State Police showing the fatal shooting. The incident occurred after she called 911 to report a suspected burglar outside her house in Springfield, Illinois. The video reveals a chaotic scene with the deputy shooting Massey in the face during a tense moment over a pot of water inside her home.
She said she was going to rebuke me in the name of Jesus and came out with boiling water. That's what all this is. I was standing right here.
Grayson has pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. I'm Sue Aller.
When America in the Morning continues, investors react to a Harris presidency after these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Back with Tuesday Business, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a winning start to the week for stocks. Markets reacting to President Biden's withdrawal from the race for a second term and his endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris. The S&P 500 index up 1%. The NASDAQ up 1.5%. Tech shares rebounded, led by NVIDIA. Vice President Harris, formerly a senator from California with ties to the tech community. Investors really like that.
I'm regarding this actually as mega versus MAGA. Mega tech does better with someone who's sophisticated, who understands California, who is not against tech. Let's not forget, her brother-in-law is Tony West, who is a former general counsel of PepsiCo, then was with the Justice Department, is now the general counsel of Uber. And you tell me if there's someone who's more sophisticated and knows more about business and the West Coast than her brother-in-law, who would be an amazing advisor. They're close. And I just keep thinking Biden didn't hurt the stock market at all. It is pretty amazing how well the Biden administration done. But this whole idea that she's a clone of his is completely wrong.
So
she was much more moderate than he.
You think it's a net positive for the markets?
Absolutely.
And for American business?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer with CNBC anchor Carl Quintanilla. Meantime, Democrats brought in more than $100 million in 2 days, and one big donor's back after taking a pause, hoping that President Biden would pass the torch.
Disney family heiress Abigail Disney, as people probably know, told me that she is coming back now in helping Democrats. This is the latest moment of the donors coming home. It's just kind of a drumbeat at this point. A really wild 24 hours of the fundraising front.
CNBC's Brian Schwartz. Delta Airlines CEO says it's going to be a few more days of cancellations and delays after last Friday's global internet outage. CrowdStrike shares tumbled again yesterday. Skechers is suing LL Bean for copying a shoe design, according to Retail Dive.
Here we are in the third quarter of 2024. There are a lot of companies reporting earnings.
It's one of the busiest weeks of the summer. More than 100 companies in the S&P 500 are reporting results, and everything heats up this morning.
Tesla, Alphabet, UPS, General Motors, Coca-Cola, and Visa all reporting. On Wednesday, we'll be getting AT&T, IBM, Ford, and Chipotle. Then on Thursday, we've got Honeywell, Southwest Airlines, American Airlines, and Hasbro. And on Friday, you've got 3M and Bristol-Myers Squibb.
CNBC's Becky Quick. Also on today's watch list, we get existing home sales numbers for June. The spot Ether ETF exchange traded fund begins trading.
There's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, retrial for woman accused of killing a Boston police officer. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. A Massachusetts judge has set a retrial date in the Karen Reed murder case. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest.
Attorneys for Karen Reed say they'll keep fighting.
No matter how long it takes, no matter how long they keep trying, we will not stop fighting.
Reed was accused of killing her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, in January of 2022. She's accused of hitting O'Keefe with her car and then leaving him to die in the middle of a snowstorm after an argument. The defense argued O'Keefe's death was a cover-up carried out by police. After a 9-week trial and 5 days of deliberations,
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
And 3 weeks after that ruling, the judge in the case set a brief hearing for early next month and a new trial date for late January of next year. Reed's lawyers allege the charges against their client are based on what they call compromised investigators and a compromised investigation. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Senate Ethics Committee has voted unanimously to review allegations that New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez violated Senate rules. Lisa Dwyer reports.
The panel is building towards potential disciplinary action against the New Jersey Democrat after he was convicted of bribery charges this month. The ethics panel could recommend that Menendez be censured or expelled, which would put maximum pressure on the senator to either resign or it could pave the way for the Senate to hold a vote on his expulsion. Expulsion requires a 2/3 vote for the Senate to expel a member. A New Jersey jury found Menendez guilty of accepting bribes of gold and cash from 3 New Jersey businessmen and acting as a foreign agent for the Egyptian government. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Here's what's coming up this half hour.
Kamala Harris has made her first public appearance since President Biden announced he was leaving the race. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Voters weigh in on the change at the top of the Democrat ticket.
J.D. Vance made his first solo appearance on the campaign trail. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Wildfires posing potential dangers for much of the West. I'm Clayton Neville.
The Israeli military has ordered evacuation of part of a crowded area in the Gaza Strip it had designated a humanitarian zone. I'm Norman Hall.
We'll explain what new issues Ram truck owners are facing.
How much of the Hallmark Christmas movie about the Chiefs was inspired by Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. Back with you now on America in the Morning. Showers and thunderstorms abound today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Well, despite a lack of significant storm systems across the United States, today there'll be a few areas of wet weather that can dampen your outdoor plans or result in travel delays. The day will start off with some showers, even pockets of steadier rain across eastern New England, so places like Boston and Portland, Maine may have some slower travel through the morning hours. Meanwhile, a warm and humid air mass will be in place across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic today, while a stray afternoon thunderstorm can pop up in these areas, including around the nation's capital in New York City. It will not be a total washout by any means. Now, more widespread showers and thunderstorms may return to these areas tonight. Further south, typical warmth and humidity will be felt across the southeast today, with thunderstorms developing this afternoon. Most of these storms will be spotty, but there will be a higher concentration of storms over portions of the Carolinas into southern Florida, as well as across many of the Gulf Coast states, including Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and back through central Texas. Here, downpours can lead to ponding of water in area streets and poor drainage areas, resulting in slower travel and possible delays. Much of the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley will have a mix of clouds and sunshine, although a spotty afternoon thunderstorm cannot be ruled out. A cold front will bring some heavier gusty storms to portions of eastern Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. The west will continue to sizzle under the ongoing heat wave with highs in the 90s and triple digits. Smoke from wildfires in Canada will make for hazy skies and poor air quality from the northern Rockies into the northern plains. Afternoon thunderstorms will erupt over the rest of the Rocky Mountains. Meanwhile, the tropical Atlantic remains quite quiet with a lot of dry, dusty air putting a lid on tropical development. That will be the case over the next 5 to 7 days with little tropical development expected. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Carl Erickson.
Don't forget you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Kamala Harris has made her first public appearance since President Biden announced he was leaving the race and endorsing her. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, the vice president continues to gain strong support within the Democrat Party, as one historian looks back on the past 2 weeks as among the three most tumultuous periods in American politics.
The name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell, both as a sitting president, getting legislation passed, as well as in campaigning.
Kamala Harris has made her first public appearance since President Biden announced he was leaving the race and endorsing her. Facing the South lawn, the vice president did not mention her own candidacy and instead praised the president.
Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history.
Getting more done in one term than most presidents in two.
And I am firsthand witness that every day our President Joe Biden fights for the American people.
Harris was speaking to NCAA champions, ranging from the Florida State women's soccer team to the Tufts men's lacrosse team.
You all know what it means to commit and to persevere. And you know what it means to count on teammates.
Harris's remarks came as more top Democrats endorsed her as she works on getting more delegates on board.
In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
One historian is looking back on the past 2 weeks as among the three most tumultuous periods in American politics.
They call it a sucker punch.
Like a hit to the gut for the University of Virginia's Barbara Perry. Her only parallels, the early 1860s.
That was the worst time of upheaval in the United States.
With secession and civil war. A century later,
I shall not seek, and I will not accept the nomination of my party.
Lyndon Johnson was essentially forced out of the 1968 race.
In that case, because of his unpopularity and probably unelectability.
Then the killings of Robert F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr.
So there was complete chaos at the convention of the Democrats.
And in another parallel,
it was in Chicago, and this year the Democrats will meet again in Chicago. I'm not sure that was a very wise decision.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
For the American voter, the late change at the top of the Democrat ticket for the White House changes the entire election dynamic, no matter which candidate you support. The Associated Press asked people who plan to pull the lever in November what they think about the turn of events. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
My reaction is I think we needed new candidates anyway. I think a change in a woman running is probably what we need right now.
She's had 4 years of experience in the White House, has seen the execution of the Biden policies, has been part of that. So I think for her to carry the torch makes sense.
Joe is a great president. He's been a great president, and he's gotten a lot done for our country, but he's too old.
I think it was a smart move and a smart decision on his part to step aside.
In President Biden's hometown, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Eric Boylan was thankful and relieved to hear the 81-year-old Democrat has dropped out of the presidential contest.
I was definitely a little bit upset to hear that he's, dropped out of the race at this point in time. I think he's probably being pushed out, which kind of makes me a little bit sad because I think he's a good man. I think he's a good father. I think he was a very good leader. But I do kind of also agree that his time has come and it's time to step aside and let somebody rise up within those ranks.
In nearby Dunmore,
it's about time.
Donald Trump supporter Christine Stoll thinks Biden should step down altogether.
It's about time. He should have dropped out a long time ago. He should leave the White House. He is not mentally stable enough to run this country.
His diminished capacity was obvious to everyone.
Alex Wills of Beaverton, Oregon, says the writing has been on the wall. Wills thinks Democrats can get behind Vice President Kamala Harris.
A woman can be strong just as a man, so let's go.
I'm rooting for Kamala.
Love to see a female up there.
Jill Holm, a Biden supporter from battleground Washington, says she thinks Harris can finish what Biden started.
I think she's got a really good grasp for maybe where our country needs to be going.
Jennifer King, Washington.
Ohio Senator J.D. Vance's first solo campaign rally since being nominated as the Republican vice presidential candidate happened in his home state, and also the first GOP rally since President Biden announced he's abandoning his candidacy for 2024. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance made his first solo appearance on the campaign trail with an event in his hometown of Middletown, Ohio.
We believe that we want to make more of our own stuff, and we believe that we want to have secure elections, and we believe we want to have schools that don't indoctrinate our children. That's not racist, ladies and gentlemen. It is common American Middletown sense, and I'm proud to be from this town and to take the wisdom from it.
The senator used the event to criticize Democrats for their leadership in the White House.
You cannot for 3.5 years take a guy who clearly didn't have the mental capacity to do the job. Kamala Harris lied about it. My Senate Democratic colleagues lied about it.
Vance followed up with an offer for Democrats.
My message to Democrats who are disgusted by this process, disgusted by how anti-democratic it is, you are welcome in the Republican Party, where we think we should persuade voters and not lie to voters.
Donald Trump's campaign plans to use Vance in the Rust Belt states that are seen as pivotal for Democrats' path to the White House. Vance says he and the former president are ready to save America, regardless of who's atop the Democratic ticket. I'm Haya Panjwani.
When we return on America in the Morning, among the stories we're covering, Netanyahu visit D.C. to lock down. After these messages. I'm John Trout. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. Heat and wildfires continue to impact parts of the West as we enter late July. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports many fires remain out of control.
Fire crews hard at work in western states amid grueling heat. Tens of millions of Americans under heat warnings this morning from California to Arizona, and including Nevada, Oregon, and Washington state.
We do have multiple fires going on currently. We have 4 incident management teams deployed throughout the state. Pretty heavy commitment on that.
Commander Paul Duncan with CAL FIRE says firefighters were fighting more than 20 fires yesterday. Evacuation orders were issued in Riverside County, east of L.A., where fires destroyed buildings and tore through a couple thousand acres.
You'll also see a lot more air resources as they come in and work on the firefight to get this fire knocked down. Our air resources are critical to the operations and to the success of our mission.
The Cow Valley fire, which hit mega fire status last week after burning 100,000 acres, is now 80% contained. Other fires, like the Ridge fires, still burning too. Commander Duncan determined to get the job done.
CAL FIRE is like the military. We are here and built to operate on multiple fronts and multiple fires. So we have the resources, we have the commitment, we have the personnel, and we will get the job done.
In Utah, evacuations were ordered over the weekend during a big fire near Salt Lake City. And in Oregon, multiple wildfires burning. 4 of them are mega fires, which means at least 100,000 acres were scorched. I'm Clayton Neville.
As Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu prepares for his trip to Washington to address members of Congress, the White House says Israel's leader will also meet with President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Washington, D.C. will be locking down for what are expected to be large-scale demonstrations against the war in Gaza and anti-Israel demonstrations in general. Meantime, an Israeli retaliatory attack destroyed a Houthi-occupied port in Yemen, along with the Israeli military ordering evacuations of part of the humanitarian zone in Gaza. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
The Israeli military has ordered the evacuation of part of a crowded area in the Gaza Strip it had designated a humanitarian zone. The military said it plans an operation against Hamas militants in the area who have used it to launch rockets. Earlier this month, Israel said it estimates at least 1 million Palestinians are now in the zone. Much of the area is full of tent camps that lack sanitation and medical facilities and have limited access to aid. The health ministry in Gaza says more than 39,000 Palestinians have now been killed in the 9-month war. I'm Norman Hall.
Vehicle maker Stolnis is getting complaints about abrupt engine stalling on some vehicles. Rita Foley has details.
Safety regulators are investigating complaints that the engines on some Ram pickup trucks and Jeep Wagoneer SUVs can shut down, often at low speeds, and sometimes can't be restarted. These are thousands of vehicles made by Stolnis from the 2022 model year. All have a hybrid system that can let the vehicle power itself. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it has dozens of complaints. Stolnis says it's cooperating with the probe, and any owners who see symptoms in their vehicles should contact their dealership. I'm Rita Foley.
Scientists will soon be able to use tractor beams for microsurgery, leaving almost no trace of cellular damage. Chuck Palm has that in today's Tech Report.
Researchers at Transformative Meta-Optical Systems have just developed a portable, lightweight tractor beam.
Prepare to lock on tractor beam.
In yet another example of where science fiction meets science fact, these beams are inspired by the fictional tractor beams as seen on Star Trek. Research published in ACS Photonics at the University of Melbourne describes the solenoid beam that is generated using a silicon surface. The metasurface layer of nanopattern silicone is only 1/2000th of a millimeter thick. This would allow surgeons to take biopsies in a non-invasive manner as opposed to using forceps that cause trauma to surrounding tissue. Solenoid beams are used to draw particles towards the light source in much the way that a drill pulls wood shavings up a drill bit. These devices are much more portable, lightweight, and require less power, meaning they can be used in delicate medical instruments. Leave a comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Tuesday Sports on America in the Morning with our Robert Workman.
Baseball Monday, the Royals romped over the Diamondbacks 10-4. Bobby Witt Jr. came up a single shy of the cycle.
I don't really know how to hit a single, but I don't know. I was just trying to put a good swing, but it was a great win today.
That's his fourth straight 3-hit game. Kansas City has won 4 in a row. Coincidence? You decide. Yankees smacked 5 Jacks as they soared over the Rays 9-1. Juan Soto hit 2 of them and drove in 4. Mets over the Marlins 6-4. Francisco Lindor homered twice. Dodgers nipped the Giants 3-2. Teoscar Hernandez drove in all 3 runs with a homer and 2 singles.
Today I got the opportunity 3 times to tie the game and then go ahead. So, great.
Angels got 2 in the 9th to sink the Mariners. Wyatt Langford scored the tying run in the bottom of the 9th, then singled in the walk-off winner in the 10th as the Rangers shaded the White Sox. Rocky scored twice in the 12th to edge the Red Sox. Boston now winless in 4 games since the All-Star break. Twins topped the Phillies, Minnesota's first win since the break. A's shut out the Astros. Hogan Harris and the Heroes scattered 8 hits. Tigers trounced the Guardians. Tarek Skubal went 7 innings for his 11th win, while the trade winds swirled around him. Wins for the Pirates, Cubs, and Reds. LeBron James has been named one of the flag bearers for Team USA at Friday's opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympic Games. A female athlete will be named today to join James, who is the first men's basketball player to hold the honor. James won the bronze medal at the Athens Games in 2004, then gold at Beijing 2008 and London 2012. That's Tuesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return, Swift Kelsey passion reemerges when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Most folks just knew him as Duke, the last surviving member of the legendary Motown group, the Four Tops. The singer has passed away at the age of 88. With more, here's correspondent Margie Zaraletta.
Fakir once said he thought Reach Out, I'll Be There was an okay song that would make a nice album track. It was one of 2 #1 songs for the Four Tops, along with I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch.
Obi created that one day many, many years ago, well before we come to Motown, because he's very fidgety, he just has so much fun, he just bounces around on the stage. And one day he started doing this to somebody in the audience, and me and Levi looked and said, yeah, this looks kind of cool. So we started doing it with him, and there it was.
Fakir said in a 2022 AP interview, Motown Records in the 1960s was like high school for singing.
We learned from each other. It was like a total musical academy.
The Four Tops' other hits include Bernadette, Baby I Need Your Loving, and Standing in the Shadows of Love.
As much as we love R&B and we love our people, we didn't feel like we were the type of group to just be pigeonholed in that category. You know, the world is bigger than that.
I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Look for conversation to rekindle over the romance between the NFL's Travis Kelce and music superstar Taylor Swift. We could see more in a new Christmas movie about the Kansas City Chiefs football team. Kevin Carr explains.
Last month, Hallmark Channel announced a new Christmas movie called Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story. And many have wondered how much of this is based on the real-life romance of Taylor Swift and Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce. This week, the film's stars Hunter King and Tyler Hines talked with Entertainment Tonight to set the record straight.
There's no way that the cultural reaction to their love story hasn't found its way into the sort of fabric of the movie, but the reality is that we're telling a story of a family, a fandom, and a love story that is kind of its own thing.
While the story isn't specifically about Swift and Kelce, you can look for cameos from Chiefs players, Coach Andy Reid, and Kelce's own mother, which was announced on the Hallmark Channel's Instagram on July 13th.
Hi, I'm Donna Kelce, and I'm in A Holiday Touchdown, A Chiefs Love Story.
Now let's just hope Swift doesn't need inspiration for a new breakup song before December. Also in Taylor Swift news, this week Eminem prevented her from breaking another record.
Sometimes I feel so alone, I just don't know, feels like I've been down this road before.
The rapper's latest album, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace, debuted at the top spot on the Billboard 200, knocking Swift down a notch for the first time since the Tortured Poets department debuted in May. If she had remained at top another week, she would have shared the record of longest weeks at #1 after opening in first place with Stevie Wonder. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.